Chapter 40 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth and Act relative to the protection of the wetlands. Notice of this meeting was posted in Fairhaven Neighborhood News on January 19th. Persons wishing to be heard will be called in the following order. And I need to tell you that this is being broadcast on public access cable. And if you can't watch tonight, you'll watch it in your leisure at a future date.
Nah.
So first, minutes for approval, December 14. We've had a chance.
No clerk, no minutes.
No clerk, no minutes, okay. Right out.
She's still
Okay.
sick.
Letter, so meeting mail. So, want to get us started, we have something from Eversource
Actually,
regarding,
we did get minutes for 14th.
Yeah.
An email.
she sent them.
Yeah, but I don't actually have it for you to sign.
Okay. So
Oh, okay.
I guess you guys could vote.
we can vote and just have, just
And just sign them for
sign
next
them at the
meeting.
next meeting.
Yep.
So, motion to accept December 14th minutes.
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next, we have meeting mail, so letter received from Eversource regarding scheduled vegetation maintenance work on the electric transmission rights-of-way located in Acushnet. So I have it here. The brief version being Eversource is providing notice of planned and scheduled vegetation maintenance work on the electric transmission rights-of-way. It's ROW 142 and 143. This I have, I don't know if that's down below. Located within your municipality for the 2023 calendar year. Planned maintenance will involve floor cutting, side pruning, and the selective removal of hazard trees that are located along or just beyond the right-of-way edge. This is a couple of bullets here, and the maintenance work is being conducted under Wetlands Protection Act, Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, and 310 CMR Code of Massachusetts Regulations 10.02 2A2, which provide for the following exemption, and we've been through that before, so this is I'm guessing this is the typical courtesy email we get every year for right-of-way work.
Yes, we don't have much, we don't have any say in it.
It's just them letting us know that it's happening.
The only requirement is that they notify us.
Right. Then there's a letter regarding Pagiot Street. Review of matters presented was to be taken. So this letter's come in, a little bit difficult to read. To whom it may concern, I walked the woods to center of town, and all I see is more and more removal of plants under brush removal. When will someone walk this fence on Pagiot Street? It is a swamp with all the non-evasive plants, so this is invasive, and bush now gone. No permits are needed in Acushnet. So, I'm not sure which part of Pagiot Street they're in unless it's over by, well, because Pagiot Street's one of those streets that's segmented.
So we've had a lot of complaints about the paper street part of Pagiot.
Okay.
And there is a building permit over there, they do have permission to do what they're doing.
Mhm.
And someone's just been unhappy about it for about a year. So,
Well, the letter's been read into the record. If anybody has questions about that. Okay, old business. On to Noah Dion, Pollinator Garden, review of matters presented, votes may be taken. Mr. Dion, Mr. Cody, floor is yours if you like. The records, we need you to introduce yourselves.
I'm Joe Cody, I'm 143 Nestles Lane, Acushnet. I'm Scoutmaster Troop 11 in Acushnet. This is Noah Dion.
Noah Dion of 107 Coffin Ave. Here to present my Eagle project.
Unfortunately, we have to put the small screen
Show
over
its
there.
legs.
Yeah, that end of the table isn't
We'll just bring it right over to
secure.
you.
Yeah, just lock in those legs underneath,
Underneath.
on your side, Noah. They're not locked in yet.
yeah.
Oh,
Hard to see, but that's the best we can come up
Hey,
with.
it's, you've had less.
so, as many of you know, the butterfly garden is not the prettiest looking right now. And I wanted to make it my project to go in and make it look pretty again. I would like to add picnic tables there, new flowers, maybe move some of the flowers that are there, because I know some of the plants there are hidden behind weeds and stuff. This is how the garden sits today. This is from the street. This is a stone walkway. It's a little hard to see. The stone walkway goes up that way. There's rows of flowers on each side that are taken over by weeds. Here's another view. In the back, there's a bunch of herbs and trees and flowers. Further view. This is a tree on the side. There's a big rock and just a bunch of grass here. Nice spot to put maybe like a picnic table or something there. It's hard to see, but there's a lot of weeds and plants and trees and stuff. Here's a big tree by the road. I was thinking maybe a bench there, just something by that tree. This is like the best 3D I could do to like get an idea of the general area. And this is just some of the stuff I'd like to see. Nice, colorful stuff. Community coming down, maybe helping out, just hanging out. So, yeah.
So I would just add to that just so everybody knows that Eagle Scouts, and they earn their Eagle badge, they have to do a project, community-based project, and it's completely funded by them and the troop. So we wouldn't be asking anybody here for any of the towns to contribute, anything from the town to contribute to this. We would fund it privately through the troop or through private donations. So this is something that Noah's we've been working there in recent years. At least once or twice a year we go in there and clean it up. But so Noah's been a part of that. He wants to add to it. He wants to make it better.
Tell us about your timeline. So like, when do you plan on starting? You're just gonna wait? Are you gonna start in March or April?
Yeah, hopefully towards the start of spring, get my troop down there to help me pull the weeds out. We were gonna look in, because one of my fellow Boy Scouts just finished their project and they got someone to donate a picnic table. Looking to reach out and hopefully get another one donated. And yeah, just really start when it starts to green up again.
And you mentioned replacing plants. Do you mean just by the fact that by clearing weeds, it'll give these established nice plants that we want to grow because we've gotten the weeds out of the way? Is that what you meant?
Yeah, essentially. I want to go in and put weed tarp. There is this, I'm trying to think of the name here, I wrote it down. Perennials, if you, they're really colorful and they do actually choke off weeds. I'd like to plant perennials there to actually help, so it's less, like we don't have to go there as often and pull weeds. It'll help keep the weeds down a lot.
And that weed fabric certainly helps. We'd all be nuts if we said no. But, I like to ask if at all possible, if you're going to add anything, if they be native plants.
Yeah, I definitely, if I can get some flowers donated, it could use flowers added. There's some there, but I'm sure some have been lost.
Right. I'm sure getting some of the weeds out of there.
Yeah.
Donate
Yeah.
some things that we access.
So is there a way we can reach you, or the town can know if they want to donate?
Yeah, I can give an
Whatever you
email.
need, or
You
you
can
want
reach
to
out
put
to
a
the
list
troop.
out there?
Yeah, I'll give you my
So
information.
you do that through you.
Yeah.
I know some
Bob has
markers
my
out there
information.
the other day. Is that just trees or?
Yeah, the markers are like trees that are currently growing, just to
Okay.
not chop down.
Okay.
Ava, just so you know, we do have money in our budget for specifically the pollinator garden.
Okay.
So if we want to help and buy some weed fabric, so they can put that down, if we want to help buy some native plants.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to fund it ourselves. He has to fund it himself, or he won't get credit. He wants to earn his Eagle, so anybody except for the whoever he's doing the project for can donate. The only people that is the committee or the town.
So,
So we'll handle it.
but if the commission wanted to add more plants, could the commission buy plants and would Noah plant them for us?
Yes, the troop would play it for you, yeah.
Okay.
We do that anyway. Yeah, we do that stuff anyway.
If we don't use the money, it's gonna get taken out of the budget. We won't have any money going forward. And this is not a perpetual project. This is a a one-season, one-time thing for his Eagle Scout. So we should protect the money in our budget.
Sounds easy.
Yeah, if you purchase them and leave them there, we'll plant them.
Do you have an estimate about what's in there?
We have $1,000 every year for the
Okay.
pollinator garden.
I like that.
Yeah.
I think we had talked about two, like perpetual, like log through the next couple of years to keep it going.
Right, so maybe in
Yeah, we have
subsequent
been
years.
trying to do that. We've been there a couple
Yeah,
times,
yeah. Okay, just wanna make
weeding
sure.
it, you know,
Mhm.
we cleaned out around that tree, which was a mess. But yes, if you're looking for a commitment from the troop,
Mhm.
Mm.
that, we're committed to taking care of that area, yeah.
Awesome.
And we have money for it.
Yeah, that we can accept money for.
Okay.
So it's just his Eagle project, he's supposed to fund it,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
So we do a lot of projects around town, and, you know, most of the time, those services are like Council on Aging or the school department, they buy the supplies and we do the work. It's just for Eagle projects, it's a little different.
And is there a time when you have to be finished with your project? Or you want to be finished?
Hopefully I want to finish this spring before I'm 18 is like the deadline.
I see.
Yeah, it'll be done in the spring.
Okay. Yeah, and so you guys provide whatever tools you need and
We have everything.
wheelbarrows and hauling stuff off-site if you need it. Okay. Just for formality's sake, I'll entertain a motion to accept this project as presented and wish Noah well.
I'll second it.
No, as soon as I make it.
I'll make the motion.
Do you
I'll
have a
second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good luck.
Thank you.
I commend you, really, and a pleasure to meet you.
Yep.
Pleasure to meet you guys too. I would collapse.
Don't forget your computer. Next on the old business agenda is a continued public hearing, Weldon Lane Historic Trail. Public hearing will be held to determine the rights of public access and use of the Weldon Lane Historic Trail.
Still waiting for more information.
Okay. Motion to continue. Motion to continue. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. New business, I need a motion to open the hearing for 33 Beach Street.
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we have an NOI, Matthew C. Mitchell, 33 Beach Street. That's file number SE 001-0579. Notice of intent was filed by Matthew Mitchell for property located at 33 Beach Street, map 25, lot 291. The applicant proposes to construct a two-bedroom addition to an existing two-bedroom residence, relocate town water supply, install a septic system upgrade for 4 bedrooms, construct a new retaining wall with associated site work. Portions of the work lie within the buffer zone of the marsh. The applicant is represented by Richard Sharon of Sharon Associates Incorporated Engineers. The plan name is Plan of Site Addition to Residence and Upgrade of Subsurface Sewage Disposal prepared for Matthew C. Mitchell, as dated December 28, 2022. Mr. Sharon?
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. Luke Sharon from Sharon Associates, here on behalf of Matthew Mitchell, who's with us this evening. I've got a couple extra plans if you want to come a little closer.
Thank you.
Thank you. I guess you
I'm
can,
good.
right? This is basically work within the buffer zone. You have the existing house, a two-bedroom house, very small house at the end of the street there when you come down Lawson Avenue. That house has been cleared a bit around the sides of it because it was completely vegetated just a short while back. If you look at some of the town's pictures of it, it looks like it's in the woods, but it's been opened up. We got some perk tests on the south side of it, on the south yard. The proposed for a new septic system in there, which is basically going to be for a 4-bedroom system. All right, so that's completely outside of the buffer zone. Our resource areas are the marsh that runs to the easterly side of the Acushnet River. There's also a flood zone line that runs in through here, right? So there's elevation 6. So when we did this work, we tied this into the mean sea level datum, the NAVD 88 datum. So we've got the 6-foot contour running right through here. So that's the extent of the flood zone on the inside of the hurricane barrier. So we're out of the flood zone in this area, but we do have work that's within the 100-foot buffer zone. You can see one along here. There's some site work. In addition, there's an addition, a two-bedroom addition going on the north side of the house. Again, the existing house is right here. There'd be a new porch on the front, a new deck on the rear, running even with the existing deck. So basically, this would be the final footprint of the house here. There's existing ready rock type large precast concrete block wall. That's gonna be relocated from where it is right now to this portion of the house. And then the driveway will come in so they can park underneath the house from that side. There's an existing garage over here, that's nothing being done with that right now. But essentially, this is gonna be addition to the house with a new 4-bedroom septic system design. And again, as I say, we're outside of flood zone, but we are within the buffer zone. There'll be siltation control placed in this area here for the work done on the septic system. And then from this line here, with the new works beginning a little before that, and all the way over to this edge of the driveway, so we can get all of this area covered for that site work. I think we didn't have that staked out, I guess, at the site meeting, but
On the buffer zone?
on the buffer zone,
Yeah.
yeah. But we did have the additions staked out at that time, so.
We forgave you.
Okay, good. We'll get it next time.
And that siltation varies like right along the property line.
Yes, exactly.
Interesting.
This one is right along the property, just a little inside the property.
Sure.
We've also got a limit of work line shown in here. So this includes everything from the south property line is going to be taken right almost to the rear property line here, and then alongside the outside of that driveway, so we can regrade this area and get a driveway going in there to drive underneath the new addition. I can answer any questions on it.
So, I got a phone call from a resident concerned that there's been a lot of tree clearing in the buffer zones at this house. So I went on our mapping system, and there has been some significant
Are we
cutting.
talking this area back in here?
Well, there's the picture. That was fairly vegetated on September 9th, 2022, but it was pretty clean when we went there on Saturday.
I was in front of the town.
Hold on 1 second.
3 years ago for that.
That's all right.
For that clearing of the property.
Just find out about it. So,
So then if you look at where the septic system's going, in August of 2019,
yes.
that was heavily treated as well.
Yeah, that's the area. That's
Yeah.
right.
So then, that's what it looks like now.
No, that area is primarily outside the buffer zone, but the other one you mentioned definitely
Is
is
in the
inside.
buffer zone.
That's in this area here.
And I'm living up because someone complained to me.
Well,
and have to
I went
give-
for, I went in front of the town.
But hold on 1 second. If you're gonna talk, you need to go up to the podium and give your name for the minutes.
Yeah, please.
That's something I'm not familiar with, so I'm going to defer to the owner, just he can explain what's going on.
One of the initials.
So I cleared that land probably 3 years ago, well, two and a half years ago when I first bought the property, and there was an issue with it. I went in front of the board and I got the okay with it, and they made me put some hay bales for the runoff and all that stuff. So that was already taken care of 2 years ago when I cleared the property initially.
All right, well,
And now here we are. And
Do you guys remember that?
they're the ones that need to be reminded.
I remember going to that house.
Okay. Because
Yeah,
I
actually,
don't
yes.
find anything.
You would,
I remember.
yeah,
being
you remember
there.
going to that house,
Yes,
yes.
sir, I do.
Yeah.
Then we can move on. Just, it was brought to my attention, I got
All
the
right.
pictures, I don't know the story, and
No, it's not.
thank you very much.
All right. That's Matt.
Any other questions for Rick?
No. So the Board of Health has not approved the septic design yet.
Okay.
They're looking at it because of the coastal zone and those things there.
Yeah.
So I would ask that you not vote on the notice of intent until the septic system's approved.
Which is pretty standard for us.
That's what we've been doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, we may have a revision because one of the items here, we're using the Elgin type system, which it's an advanced treatment system for the leaching field as opposed to stone and pipe. It allows an area reduction, but one of the requirements of it is that we have to show we can put the full-size system in here. So rather than being set back away from property lines, if we can show the full-size system, which we're gonna do for the Board of Health, but it's a DEP technicality, which we missed on this one here. So that plan will get revised to show that, and that's the one we really wanna have the order conditions written up on. So as soon as we get that done, I'll get you copies of that.
And do you have the green cards?
Yes.
I'll be in trouble if I forget those. Joanne will yell at me.
These are going to come back. and
Okay.
they-
And I
set the
understand
receipts
the
too.
town owns the abutting land?
Yes.
Between the waterfront and the house?
This area ends through here. Yes, this is town property here, and I believe also, we got this is a street right here, uncut street, And I believe this lot here also.
I think it's like 11.9 acres or something,
Yeah.
and the applicant knows where the property line is and all of that, just so we don't have any, you know where your property line is?
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent.
So, I should ask anybody else out here for this project. Didn't think so. So in that case, I'll entertain a motion to continue until we get a revised plan.
For more information,
For
yeah.
more information, until we get the revised plan with the new septic design.
All right, we should have that right after the
So moved.
Board of Health meeting.
Is there a second?
But you want to get it
Second.
approved?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So,
Okay.
we may see you at our next meeting then if you get that in, and we'll put it on the agenda.
Very good.
Great.
Thank you all.
Motion to close, actually, no, it was continued, so I didn't close it. Never mind. Okay, on to the discussion part of the agenda. So we have Robinson Road Solar LLC, map 7, lot 7, file number SE001-0564. A request for review of selected tree cutting and removal within a portion of the western bordering vegetated wetland to facilitate the construction of the solar project. The request is made by Jennifer Duquette, project manager of NextGant. Review kind of votes may be taken, and I'm guessing your name is not Jennifer.
Correct.
For the record, tell us.
Jack Curry of Robinson Road Solar LLC. My address is 36 Central Road in Somerville, Massachusetts. So we come here before the commission tonight with a request to selectively remove 4 white pine trees. And when we had submitted our request to the Conservation Commission, we had felt that they were within the wetland. We have since gone out there and located the trees and found that they are approximately within the previously approved tree clearing limit, pretty much on the border there, and then there is one additional tree that is within the wetland buffer, not within the wetland itself. So the request has been minimized a bit since we originally submitted to the Conservation Commission.
Can you repeat that last sentence, just so I hear it clearly?
Sure. So previously, when we submitted to the Conservation Commission, we felt that the trees were within the wetland itself. Since then, we've gone out, located the trees, measured them, and found that 3 are pretty much along the previously approved tree clearing line, and then there is one additional tree that's within the wetland buffer,
Right.
not the wetland itself.
Right, but not on the other side of the flag line.
Correct.
Pat, any questions, comments about this? Your photos for us? there?
No, this is, you guys, I saw the survey crew out there, they did do the work to locate the trees and do all of that. And I have no reason to doubt what he told us.
And I did not point this out, but you can see on the plans that you have in front of you, the 4 trees, 3 are shown here along the previously approved cut line, and then 1 additional just beyond that.
Any other questions, Mr. Curry?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the cutting then.
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any further discussion?
No.
No? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstaining? Thank you for that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item on here, budget review. I'll turn that over to you, Pat, because I've not
So our,
seen a budget.
either way. So our conservation budget is due February 7th to the town administrator's office. And then they'll notify us when we need to go to the finance committee. And I'm hoping that we can resolve the clerk's situation before we have to submit our budget. And then there's some question on the department head side of, we're about to negotiate a union contract with the town. Our union has been recognized by the state. And we assume that we'll be getting a raise in our contract negotiations, so we need to plug a number into the budget for that, so that we don't get caught short. But we should encourage the town administrator to use some of the Wetlands Protection Act money if he's going to tell us that the town doesn't have enough money to fund these budgets. We've never used any of this money, and that's exactly what it's intended for. So we shouldn't get any reductions. And then I don't know if you saw the presentation by the town administrator but he has a plan to reorganize all the departments and have one department head for all inspectional services. And Joanne would be coming into conservation full-time, and I would be at conservation full-time. And I would come out of the Board of Health, and she would come out of the Board of Health. That's his proposal. So,
So when you say, so inspectional services, who else does that include?
so they're gonna hire a planner who's slash economic development, town planner, and the head of all departments for inspectional services. So the building commissioner would report to this man or woman.
Mhm.
The health agent would report to that person. I would report to that person. DPW is gonna be left off on their own.
Why is that?
Don't know.
They report to the selectmen.
Okay. See?
Well, actually, everybody reports to the town administrator according to the town charter. But as far as the commission is concerned, I just want to make sure that we protect ourselves and put something into the budget. They have the ability to say no. But just put a placeholder in there so that no one can say, well, you didn't ask, so we have to wait till next year.
Okay. And I know, and on that issue too, update on the senior clerk of personnel action forms, I did send a letter to the selectmen, which I've received acknowledgement from two of them that they received my letter asking to be part of an upcoming selectmen's meeting to discuss this.
And actually,
study for joint.
Selectman Gaspard did contact me either yesterday or the day before and said that if in fact the union needs to be involved in it, as Mr. Kelly says, that Mr. Gaspard is more than willing to meet with the union and take care of it. He's willing to get involved in that. And they said if it can't be a PAF, then they would be interested in just changing her work title from a senior clerk to an administrative assistant and doing the same thing for Wanda and the Board of Health. So everybody's on an even playing field. So it looks like they're ready to resolve it. They're tired of hearing at our meetings about it.
And in this case, so Joanne's union is absent, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
As is Wanda's.
Yeah, and according to the town administrator, the ASME union has already agreed to the reorganization of all of their ASME employees and said you can change which departments they work for, you just can't change their title. So if you're a senior clerk, they can't change it to a clerk or anything else in that move. But there may be a situation where some of the jobs you're trying to incorporate are actually going to be union jobs, and it will prevent them from doing that reorg.
Prevent them from doing what?
From reorganizing all of our jobs.
But in terms of compensating Joanne, do we still want, I mean, I'm guessing we still want to make Wetlands Protection Act money available?
That's absolutely the preference of the two selectmen.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not coming out of taxation.
And they don't want it to be pensionable.
Yeah, which is too bad.
Yeah.
But getting her some more money is a good thing. So whether it's option one that Kevin mentioned or option two, either way, we want to make sure that WPA money is available to increase whatever payment she's
Yeah,
making.
and the taxation doesn't become the excuse.
Right.
Yeah. Just so, I told you guys about this on Saturday, but I just want to show you this real quick. That silt sock at Robinson Road.
Oh, when it was in the road.
That's what the water did, and that's probably 300 pounds worth of silt sock there. That's how fast that water came through.
That's Cushing Lane right there.
Yep, yep.
It's a lot of velocity. A lot of volume.
Yes.
And it's because those other silt socks directed all that water to that edge.
Didn't go, okay,
So everything came down there like a river. So,
Before we, just want to make any other budget questions, comments for that?
No.
that's Robinson Road at the beginning of that. That's how much the water was coming through there. So,
All right. So I'll let you know when I'm going to go to the selectmen's meeting, and you can tune in and watch. All right.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Thank you.
Well, she's earned it, and then some. Next, we have, under the heading of enforcement, Paul Boucher, 7 Morton Lane, stormwater violation. Asking for a vote to ratify enforcement on review of matters presented, votes may be taken.
Keep this really simple. So I'm going to show you one video. I went there on Friday the 13th after that big rainstorm to see if in fact the 4 bays were functioning as Mr. Haru told us they would. So there's almost no treatment of that water coming through those 4 bays, and that's just before it goes out to the wetlands and to the fen. They even took the silt fence down. So it's my feeling that the system designed by Zenith is correct, and Mr. Haru's alternate, much smaller system failed miserably, and that the proponent should just get going and install it.
So the Zenith, that was,
That was the basin. It had the 4 bays going to a basin and then coming out of the basin.
but in either case, were the trees, no, the trees or was it, like, you?
Oh, no, there would be a
poles?
significant amount of trees cut.
No,
to
no,
put in
but
the
I
basin.
mean, in the way, wasn't there an issue with, is it utility poles or trees that were in the way? or-
Yeah, so we gave permission to move the 4 bays out.
Right.
They're undersized, under constructed. It just doesn't work for us. And with the rainstorms we're having now, I think Zenith was right.
So, I'm gonna turn it over to you, and just for the record, you know what to do.
Well, just for the record, what you see there is not
No,
100%.
identify yourself, so we have to,
What's that?
please, yeah, identify yourself.
Paul Boucher,
Thank you.
7 Morton Lane. What you see there is, it's not complete. We ran out of time. So what Mr. Hannon said is inaccurate. That's all I got to say. You guys are out there on the site walk Saturday. You've seen what was out there.
So when you say incomplete, which?
Well, the road's
aspects-
not done. And
This rail needs
and- and-
improvement.
the 4 bays still need to be tweaked. So what you saw out there on your sidewalk, like I said, we ran out of time because of the weather. It was something that was put in because Mr. Hannon wanted something, just throw something in there to get the water into the drainage and something to be treated. And that was 3.5 inches of rain we had that day. And I'm sure you guys went around town and saw that exact same thing on every site you went to. That would be my guess.
Or in the street, or everywhere you went, there's water everywhere, not just our site. 3.5 inches of rain is an awful lot of rain in 5 hours, period of time. I'd like to kind of go over the executive order, if I might,
Yeah,
and bring up
just for
some
the record,
points.
we need to have your name.
Nancy
stated.
Durfee,
Thank you.
7 Morton Lane.
Yep.
These are basically, items that are taken right out of the executive order, the enforcement order that was provided to us on the 17th. It talks about the plans that we submitted in later of 2022. We submitted plans on July 22nd, 2022, to take a look and amend the order of conditions. That's exactly what you read every single night we've been here since July. We were amending the order of conditions to take a look at the roadway, the swale, the drainage basin, and the roof drains. We had our engineer take a look at the plans based on some recommendations from a professional, and I'll read what she said to us and which was submitted to you, just to bring us back to kind of like where we started and to give you some sense of what we've learned along the way. At the northern extent of the wetlands starts at elevation 86, and the proposed basin, which would reroute any surface flow from the road has a low point of 84. The drainage feels over-designed and unnecessary to me if a goal of the project is to maintain the mapped wetland. Continuing to allow a drainage from the road to infiltrate into the wetland, in my opinion, is a better way to go. So this is where we started. We had Alan Hero take a look at the plans. He suggested that we do the roadway with the swale, and as we've said, we're not done. We still want to come back and do more. There needs to be a better pitch. The swales need to be improved upon to make sure that we're meeting those requirements. But that water is still required for the acidic fen to survive. It requires the surface flow and the groundwater, of which we're going to take both away by building the drainage that was suggested by Zenith. He proposed the runoff storm retention volume provided in the swale as equal to 1 inch of runoff over the entire surface. He also took a look at the roof drain system, which was proposed by Zenith to build 32 Cultec C100 HD leaching chambers, which is roughly the size of, almost the size of our house. And Alan Hero is proposing that we put in 6 contractor 100 leaching chambers set on 6 inches of stone. And if you look at the plans, the drainage that was designed goes across the top of the stone wall and into the, the buffer and the wetlands as well. We moved the house so that we could make room for this roof drain. So at that point, we were told that all of our plans would be done peer review. We were told by Mr. Hannon that it would go to peer review when I brought him to him in July. At the site visit, we talked about going to peer review. On August 24th, we talked about going to peer review. You kept telling us it's going to peer review. Here we are, we're doing everything you've asked us to do. You asked us to put up the silt fence, we did. In fact, we had it done. Sorry, I've taken a lot of notes. I've gone over a lot of materials since we saw you Saturday. On October 24th, we were told that it would go to peer review, and then we got the enforcement order and the cease and desist, which still remains on the property today. We've gone beyond, we can't, with a cease and desist, do what's being asked of us by Mr. Hannon in the enforcement orders. We've respected the enforcement orders and the cease and desist. We have not touched our property beyond what you have told us we could do. That means raising around the foundation 8 inches and 3 feet out. That's all we were able to do. And you saw our property when you came out. We are living with that throughout until you tell us we can change it. I mean, we would have done the landscaping. We were ready to do that in September, as soon as the leaching field was done. In fact, the leaching field was being built while you were out on August 20th. So was David. David Souza was working on the leaching field. So, just want to say we went from there to he did.
Can you go back to what you're saying about silt fence, because it sounded like you were going to give us a date.
Okay, yeah, so we had the silt fence in by October 26th. It was well developed. The only part we did not have done was across Morton Lane and along the side of, across Dolores and alongside Dolores, which is the paper street at the very northern end, where the turnaround is. We were waiting on instructions from Mr. Hannon and our wetland specialist, Dave Bichette. We didn't want to take it any further until we knew exactly where they expected this silt fence to go. The rest was completely installed. When Mr. Hannon, we did not attend that meeting that night by suggestion of our wetland specialist, as well as our engineer said we did not need to go because we were asking for an extension that night. so that we could build, so this is where it even gets more complicated, right? So we met in early October with Dave Souza, Dan Menard, Mr. Hannon, myself and Paul, about the roadway, because you told us on September 29th to build it. So we wanted to meet on site. We met right after the meeting with all of those parties involved, and we took a look at the road. At that time, we had realized that the electrical poles had been built in the swale. So this changed the plan. So we had our engineer draw up something very quickly and put it together, but Mr. Hannon was not willing to look at it. He was not willing to entertain it. We could not build it. We could not build it that way. We had to build it according to plan. We couldn't build it according to plan because there were electric poles were in the swale. So we then commissioned Mr. Haro to take a look and redesign the plans. He hired a subcontractor. He gained data and information from Zenith. They were getting ready to go out there and do topo and do the whole road, just the road and swale, not the entire site, because the rest of it had been done already. We had already provided that to you. So when we came to you, we were saying, like, we know we can't, we have to have an extension because it can't be done for a few months. He can't do it. So they said, don't go to the October meeting. We didn't go. And Mr. Hannon kept saying that we didn't put the silt fence in. And of course, when we're watching it, we're going, we absolutely put it in. It is in. It's not all in. We have a small piece left to put in, but for the most part, it was in. Mistakenly by both Paul and myself. So when we came back, where am I at? So at that point, in October 26th, it was even mentioned by Mr. Hannon that he had sent the plans, Zenith's plans, not Haro's plans, to GCG, am I correct? GCG? And then he said that they had never called him back. But then, Concom, you were all quite upset because you thought we didn't do anything, and ordered him to send us a certified letter telling us to put the silt fence in. So I immediately put together the pictures that I sent to you and the map showing where the silt fence had been installed, so that you could see we absolutely have paid attention to what you were saying. We weren't trying to be disrespectful to the commission. So then on November 9th, when we came back again, Mr. Hannon said, oh, absolutely build the road in the swale the way it's, and just move it over from the, I think you could have seen our faces like, that's not what you told us. And now it's November 9th. We had our site contractor on site early October. We pulled him away from cranberry growing season to be at that site visit and do the work for us. Instead, we were told, we're not going to do it right now, Dave, you have to come back. So then he comes back. He can't come back right away. It takes us a couple of weeks. And so then we're into December. We come back to you to tell you exactly what happened on January 11th, where we're at, how we did the road, how much we could get done. The weather changed, and here we are. Then the very next day, 3.5 inches of rain fell. And what you're asking for us to do, and I can continue going through that as well, I can't see with the way the site looks right now, how could we ever send a piece of equipment in to put a roof drain system in that is over-designed? And you don't even know if it's over-designed or not. It's only by Mr. Hannon's eyeballs, what he sees on site from a 3.5-inch rainstorm that happened like that. How doesn't it even get a review from an engineer? He told us he can't do this because he's not an engineer. So now he is an engineer and he's telling us that we have to build it this way. I'm not exactly sure that that's fair to us, and I don't think we can. We can't meet those requirements. He has asked that the construction be stabilized. We put up silt fence, hay bales. We installed and reinstalled silt fence along the perimeter of the site, Doris Lane, Morton Lane. The leaching field was seeded. We left a good buffer in front of the house. I don't know if you noticed, we did not touch along the roadway at all. That is natural vegetation. It is vegetated. It captures what we're hoping it will capture. We placed, as you saw, the homemade wooden makeshift capturing of the roof drain so that it didn't scour and would dissipate instead of creating the erosion that is being described, but it isn't really happening. And then it rolls over the site and it dissipates over the property. It's not entering where he's saying, it's not causing the erosion. In fact, I see clear water running through the check dams as well. So I think the system, not being built to withstand 3.5 inches of rain, did a pretty good job for something that was just makeshift, and we tried to get something in, and we know it's not done, but I mean, I think it behaved pretty well. Yeah, the cease and desist was on September 2nd. And then basically the site is being controlled by the conservation agent. It's not our site anymore. It's not our job. It's really Mr. Hannon telling us what he wants us to do, when he wants us to do it.
Anybody here have questions for Paul and Nancy?
No, but we are discussing an amendment to a previously approved plan. And that was supposed to go out for peer review. Where are we with the peer review?
I don't know where are we with that?
We're discussing an amendment to the stormwater plan, yes, not to the notice of intent. And we landed at the meeting, my recollection was that Mr. Haru was so sure of that, and I think I brought this up, why make them spend the money to cut down trees and put in the basin, let them put in the forebays and see if it works. And we did that, and it doesn't work.
They're not done.
But hold on, but that's a very clear violation of that water with all the suspended solids going into a wetland. That's the violation. And I don't control their site. They control their own site. They have responsibilities, and I'm asking you to ratify the order.
And I'm asking you, please don't. I'm asking you, please not.
I received an email saying that Beals and Thomas did not want to peer review it.
Right, it was not peer reviewed because we decided to let them install what Mr. Haru designed and see if it worked.
I thought we decided to have it peer reviewed.
That wasn't what happened. GCG didn't answer. Ask them for the minutes. You can read the minutes.
I got
So
some
we
good record.
need, so we still need Alan Haru's drainage calculations to
You
be
have it
peer
all.
reviewed then.
You have.
That's
We
the
have them,
thing.
yes,
They asked
I
for
know we have them.
topos, they asked for a peer review. That's where we were at.
Yeah.
I feel like another enforcement order is redundant. The work that was asked to be done is going against the original enforcement order.
No, it's
So-
not.
Well, my concern about this proposed enforcement order is the timeline and asking work to be done now when it's too wet to do anything, and finding someone to do it in 3 weeks' time.
That's entirely up to the commission. I just felt that that was a reasonable time based on what I see going on at 550 Main Street.
It's not 550 Main Street, it's 711.
I'm talking about another project that's had no problem stabilizing their site in December and had the same 3 inches of rain and all of those things.
But I would say the scale is different in
It is.
the resources of the company versus homeowners.
It's a commercial operation more than likely. This is a single-family residence.
But this would take us back to how we feel about, and what we've kind of just remained silent on. We have mentioned it. We have not said we don't want to build the roof drains, as Mr. Hannon has described many a times. We're not saying we don't want to build the roof drains. We want to know where in your bylaws, where your stormwater bylaw that says we must build the storm drains for the roof. Where does it say it? It doesn't say anywhere that we have to build roof drains. It says that we're 40,000 square feet or less, you are exempt. That's what it says. And we are 40,000 square feet or less. We have disturbed less land than Zenith wanted us to. If you look at the plans, you can see where the silt fence is where he assumed we were going to clear the property. We did not clear out to the silt fence. We left as much of the vegetation as we possibly could, much to the chagrin of our contractor, who was very not happy to move on such a small site, because we didn't give him enough breath to get around. And I'm sure that even the trusses, when they went in, he was not happy with the many trees that we left him to deal with. But we did not remove as many trees. We did not go to the extent of that. We left as much as possible, and that has saved much of the area as well, because a lot of the runoff is being saved in those very areas where we did not cut. It would have been much, much worse if we had followed what Zenith had asked us to do.
Couple other just general questions. So, do you still have a working relationship with Zenith?
No.
No, we're not working with Zenith anymore. We have Alan
So
Heroic.
it's strictly going to be Mr. Heroic
Yes,
and his...
we've gathered the data, all of the calculations, and all of the points that we need from Zenith, and Alan Heroic has all of those in his.
And he has the engineered plans that Zenith had created originally.
He has all the plans that Zenith had created originally.
So, either the agent or a clerk or one of us will ask an engineering firm to do peer review of those drainage calculations that Alan. What I don't know is normally when stuff, Pat, you would know this better. So that sheet that Alan handed to us back in September or whenever it was.
It's not in the format that's required.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was.
It needs to be in the stormwater handbook. It needs to use the DEP forms and put all those calculations and stamp it with a stamp, yeah. That, everybody kind of chuckled when they saw the graph paper.
Mhm.
That, the other engineers that we talked to about it, they're like, we can't do anything with this. We need the full submittal.
So I respect that. Again, we are exempt from the Massachusetts Stormwater Handbook. It says so. It says so in our notice of intent. It was checked only in our orders of conditions that we fall under that. And that was created in-house. I don't know who was involved at that time, but that was done through the Conservation Commission in our orders of conditions. When it was provided to you in our notice of intent, it was checked off that we are exempt. We are exempt from the Massachusetts stormwater regulations. We are exempt from your stormwater regulations. And you are asking us to build a 13,000 square foot drainage basin that is way bigger than our house. A roof drain system that is way bigger than our home. And now, at this point, I'm not so as willing to go along with that idea. I was back in August, but now I've lost my patience as well. I'm very tired. Mr. Hannon has spoken to us in the most disrespectful ways every single time we've come here. He said things about us that are untrue. We have worked very hard to stay within the lines of what we're supposed to do as contractors. We respect the law. We respect where you sit. We sit there too, as you might understand. We sit exactly where you are. I sit there every other Tuesday night in another community. I do exactly what you do. I'm not going to go against that. That's what I believe in. I've spent my whole life doing it. Why would I go against you now? And I'm telling you, by the law, you are not required to make us do this. And I would ask you to take a look at that. Take a very close look at that. You're asking us to do something that's against your laws. And we've stayed here and said, yes, we will. We'll do that for you. We'll do the road, we'll do the swale. I'm actually to the point where, no. Really, no. Think about it. Think about what you've asked us to do. Think about what you've seen us go through night after night when we've come here. We've only given you the truth. We've given you everything we possibly can. And I ask you to take a look at the law and tell us that we need to build this now.
We're going to vote here. Pat, any final questions or comments before I do that?
No, I think I presented my case, and they presented their case, and it's up to the commission to do what they want to do.
Well, is that I'm not comfortable with the enforcement order, only because this is not a time to be moving soil. It's too muddy. It's just not a realistic time
I think
frame.
it'd be counterproductive.
Yeah, I do too.
We'd be looking at another enforcement order the second we started it.
Right, because you've got a cease and desist now.
Well, you'd have to lift the cease and desist for us to do it. I won't do it with a cease and desist on the property. I did it, we did it on the roadway and the swale, we won't do it again. It needs to be, you guys need to rectify that. We met the requirement of the cease and desist in that enforcement order when we built the silt fence in October. That was never changed. And I think that's time to be released. And the enforcement order that was just handed to you from 1/17/2022 should not be ratified. I'd appreciate it if you didn't. We can't meet that requirement. We have nowhere to go with it.
So, motion to not ratify enforcement order from somebody.
I'll make a motion to that.
Second.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next, yeah, we all need to review the cease and desist order and probably have you back on the agenda at the next
I'd be
meeting.
happy to come back. Please take a look at your bylaws. Take a look at the Massachusetts Stormwater Bylaw as well, and tell us, at least show us where you think we need to build these things. Please, because we're not seeing it. And we do this for a living, and I don't see it.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate it, we really do.
So the next three are all Nexamp properties. 1050 Main Street, Cushing Lane, Robinson Road. Review of matters presented was taken, and these are all construction entrance issues. You wanna?
Yeah, so we can't deliberate in the field at site visits, so I just wanted to put this on the agenda so we could talk about what we saw and why we saw what we saw. And when we got to 1050 Main Street, you saw the loom pile in the middle of a pond, you saw the erosion control in the middle of a pond, and I'm still chuckling about that. I think that was one of the funnier things I've seen. And what we didn't get to talk about at 1050 was when I mentioned that the loom pile was in the wrong place and belonged out back in the storage area that was on the plan. He said that when they installed the construction entrance, they didn't have a truck there to bring the loom out back. And that was the reason they put it in the wrong place. So my whole point is they shouldn't start these jobs if they don't have the equipment and the supplies on the job. This is where it's going wrong, is right off the start. And I mentioned to Beals and Thomas, who was here tonight with Nexamp, that their work in the field needs to be as good as their peer review work. Because their work in the field was hay, which is not allowed because of invasive species, and floating straw wattles. I mean, those are embarrassing. And they should be embarrassed about that. And the same thing happened at Cushing Lane, where you had an inexperienced inspector who has now taken the CGP test and has a little bit of knowledge, and I congratulate him for doing it. But he doesn't know to say, no, you can't start work, you don't have what you need here. I've looked at the plans, that's not what you're supposed to do. And that's what's wrong with all of these solar fields, because if you give an inch to a contractor, you're giving away the whole job at some point. They'll send you to for coffee. They'll send that inspector to go buy coffee while they do something. That's what happens on these jobs. So you may think I'm being difficult, I don't know, but we have to be difficult on these big jobs. It has to be right to the gnat's butt. Whatever they say they're gonna do, they have to do it. I think you saw my email to Navison today asking for the topo for 550 Main to prove that they didn't change the grades, because the plan says contractor will maintain the existing grades. I know that that's impossible. When you rip out 19 acres of trees and strip the loom off, you've changed the grades. That contributed to that stormwater running off. His backyard's flooded again tonight at 582. I got an email at 4 o'clock. So pumping the water from the basins up has just overcharged groundwater, and it's actually connected to the pond in his yard, and it's acting like an artesian well, and the water's coming up out of the pond in the yard. Now, it's not dirty, but it's flooding his backyard. And his whole backyard's very punky. So that basin could fail. You know, a lot of things could happen there. So I've been in touch with EPA, and EPA has agreed to come up. So they're sending out 2 Clean Water Act investigators, and we're going to 550 Main Street, and we're going to Cushing Lane.
Is that happening this week or next?
They don't tell you.
Okay.
In the next week or so, but they are gonna invite me. So I'm encouraged that after 2.5 years of doing this, EPA is finally gonna come out and make an example of these solar projects. And that was my plea to the head guy in Region 1 was, we've got 6 of these, all starting at the same time, all with the same contractor who has a bad history. And you need to make an example of this so that everybody else in town understands that EPA does come out of the office, and they are.
So in terms of these 3 entrances,
I think they're all in groundwater.
right.
We have a bylaw in our soil conservation bylaw that you have to stay 4 feet above spring high groundwater.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be asking Nexamp to demonstrate that separation in Navison. Navison had it until they cleared the site. But once they cleared that site, and Joe and the Board of Health, who's an engineer, and I went through it, and we think that they took 3 feet off the top of the site to get it down to bare ground. So did the plan contemplate the contractor having to bring in fill and fill as they went along and maintain the grades? Because that's the only way you could really do it. But they put these notes in there of things that they don't really intend to do. And I met with them before they started these jobs and said, if it says it in the plans, I'm going to enforce it. Take it out if you're not gonna do it. And we told Keating the same thing, and Keating finally smartened up and took all those things out of their SWIP that they didn't really intend to do, but some engineer put it in there thinking that it would make you feel better. That, you know, after it rains, butterflies are gonna fly out of the pipes or something, so. We're trying to get that locked into these guys, that Acushnet's not gonna let you do what you wanna do. And one of our commissioners Saturday made the comment that they think that people in Acushnet are just used to doing what they wanna do. And that's why this enforcement stuff is so hard. There really hasn't been any enforcement like this in years. So there's a pushback. I also anticipated the vote for Morton Lane, and I've asked EPA to go there, and they're gonna go there too, because that project has a CGP, because it has a NIPD's permit. Mr. Boucher is the inspector, and they've got a Clean Water Act violation with that water going over the fence. So they'll have to deal with that. And that's it on the solar fields.
So in terms of voting on something for those construction, is there anything to vote on for those 3 construction entrances?
No, I just don't want you to think that I'm being extra picky. I'm just riding herd very hard. You know, if you said you're gonna do it, you have to do it. But we can't have flooded construction entrances and things in groundwater. It's gonna cause problems down the road, and you will have flooding in town from some of these projects at some point.
I agree with you on those.
Yeah.
Thanks for that update. Next on the agenda, Eric DeBarros, map 14, lot 4C, Hathaway Road, review of matters presented for its may be taken.
That's why I recognize it. I was trying to figure out why I recognize it.
How can you forget a face?
Well, as I drive by down Hathaway Road almost every day, I just see the erosion controls are laying on the ground. And, you know, Eric's just not taking care of that. Rather than give you an enforcement order and stop in, and you could yell at me and I could yell at you. I had the chairman with me on Saturday. We pulled up out front. I said, this is what we're facing. And we want you to fix your erosion controls and just stick with what your plan says. Because it looks like hell when people drive. Yeah, good.
Yeah, you know what to do.
My name's Eric Camaros, 21 Elena Way. Can I show you a video of what's going on at the property?
If you've got a way to broadcast it, unless, yeah, I mean,
Because they told me, I was told to just show the board what's going on.
Okay.
It's not that I haven't
And the
been.
main issue is the erosion control.
Yeah,
the
hold
land
on,
around.
let me continue.
Okay.
I'm not taking care of it. If you paid attention, you'll see about 150 zip ties on this damn thing, which, excuse my language, is just, it's a wind tunnel in there. If you know what you're talking about, it's north and it's south, right? Where does the wind come out of? So it just comes in there and it's ripping, and I can't really stop it. And then on top of that, us as a town have a huge problem with backup water in this Wing Lane area, which is not known. It's been going on with other sites. Well, needless to say, after I got word of someone trying to put me on the board or something, I went out of my way and I walked 6 miles through the woods, and I actually found the problem. So what's going on is all this water that's backing up onto my property, actually the problem's way down on Scouts Pond. Scouts Pond, everything that comes out of there goes out of my neighborhood. Wing Lane goes into a retention pond that was built when Wing Lane was built. When was that built? I'm not good with years, but a long time ago. So it's been neglected. And then it all comes back, it goes through the Sunix property, Cavallos. Then it goes into the power lines. After it gets into the power lines, it goes into the stream, which is connected to my property, which is overflowing. So it goes down the stream, and then if you continue to follow that, it goes all the way down to Scouts Pond. Now when we get to Scouts Pond, there's a drain that's supposed to be draining water. It's clogged solid. So now all the water is pouring over Scouts Pond. So now we're over like 3 feet high of what it should be, because now the drain's not working. So now everything backstream, which is all us, we're all getting flooded out. Talking about the 3 inches of rain, it was the Nile River coming through my property, which it's been going on nonstop. I've made multiple attempts to get a hold of Dan Menard and tell him, hey, we gotta do something about this. The front Hathaway Road comes right in. I tried putting a little berm when I put the driveway, started my driveway, to stop the water from coming in. It just comes right in. So now I got water coming in from every direction. So guess what's going on with that silt fence? It's just acting like a dam. And then it just builds up. The other day I was up to like a foot of water on my feet. No matter how many zip ties, how many staples I put in the thing, it comes down.
Where's the water?
So-
Where's the water dammed up?
I'm gonna show
I'll
you.
tell
I
Dan
got
tomorrow.
videos
I
of
just
it.
want you to tell me the location so I can tell Dan tomorrow.
Oh, yeah, it's Scouts Pond, which I don't know if you guys are gonna be prepared to even get there. Like, for me to get there was very difficult. And when I mean very difficult, I ruined some gear. Like, I was determined to get in there and find that. And like, we're gonna have to go in there with a skiff or something to dig it out. And personally, on my end, which I feel is going on, is that we have all these new developments going on that everybody keeps running into it. I'm not saying that but it was built a long time ago for a certain amount of houses. We can't just keep draining all these different drains into there. Now Scouts Pond, before, when it was made for the retention pond, which it was made for, the exit was 11 inches, which was suitable for that. Now that same drainage would work, but we can no longer use 11-inch pipe. Now it has to be opened up. So now when the water can flow out and go down into Acushnet River where it belongs. But until then, we don't have the right flow. So all of us, a laneway, I can have multiple people come down if you guys want to hear about it. Everybody's basements have been flooded and flooded for years. And it's all because of the same drainage. And it's all this problem. I have videos that are going
I was
on.
gonna say, you said-
Sorry, I'm a little
you might
wound
have
up.
to,
So Dan's office is right next to mine. I'll see him tomorrow morning and talk to him about it.
Is that behind Pope Park?
yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. And,
yeah, I went all the way from my property.
You could have just took the side, the dead end, and then went in through the woods.
But then I wouldn't have found the dam. I was looking for a dam. I didn't know if
I get
a
you.
tree came down or something that clogged it. And throughout that whole walk, other than there being a ton of trash, it's backed up more significantly than usual. And I've ridden those woods for years and years and years. That's how I managed to get through there, because I used old trails that I used to go through when the kids. They don't really look like trails no more, but you could shimmy your way through them to get through.
Still have a camera. It'd be nice to pick up the video on the camera. Must be-
I wish I had the video of Scouts Pond, but of course, after I got there, my camera died. But let me approach. So this is what's going on in my property. This is coming out of
What are you thinking?
the west.
Turn it a little bit and you can pick it up there too.
So it's coming out of the west. Look at it just pouring in, and then
Switch
it's
cameras.
just all backed up from Hathaway Road. I mean Wing Lane.
I can see it up there.
And then this is what I'm dealing with every time.
And that's why stormwater matters.
Yeah, but this is a town problem, not my problem.
Reason being I haven't fixed the silt fence is because this is all getting stuck in here.
Look at this.
And the fence,
It's blowing a gale.
Yeah,
you can wash that fence down.
You know, I work underwater.
like I
Hasn't
can't.
stopped for the past 2
Well,
months.
no, but I put it how it's supposed to be 6 inches under, so it just holds it, this whole silt fence.
Put a couple of stakes.
Go look. If you did more of diligence, you realize there's like hundreds of new stakes there. I just keep putting more and more and more. Do you even know how much silt fence costs? I got like
No, I don't.
$400 a foot into silt fence already. Just replacing it, fixing it, replacing it. Zip tie, zip tie, zip tie.
See, it's the only way I'm getting this water out of here. Flood it out in here.
Yeah, that's a serious issue.
You know, we gotta, like, so, as upset I was that you guys brought me in today, which I wasn't really upset with that, but, because nobody actually called me and even established it. Instead of coming to my property and just looking at my property, pick up your phone. You got my number. Hey, Eric, there's a problem. You know, would you mind going out there and taking a look at this? I would have said, yeah, hey, no problem. Why don't you come down and we can go over the issues that are really going on? Instead of putting in, I don't care what kind of ordinance it is, you take your time out of my life to come down here.
The silt fence is laying on the ground. It's a violation.
It was just a disrespect behind it, Pat.
There was no disrespect.
Yes, it is. You didn't call me. You could have called me and asked me.
I don't need to call you and ask you.
What do you
I
mean?
drove by a silt fence. It's been
Okay,
down
you
for
don't need
months.
to. It's called common
It's been
respect.
down for months. You should have some respect for the environment.
Environment. Yeah, fix your drain then.
It's not my drain.
And why don't you go walk that drain? You know how much
I'm only
trash is
fixing
down
it.
there? You're worried about little stormwater? Go look at the trash in there. Go
Not my
do your
department.
picking. Go pick some trash.
Not my
Let's-
department.
Anything else about this property? The issue is just,
No, it's a silt fence.
I realize you got a lot of volume, it's knocking the fence down.
I'm sorry. I already started right off the rip with this happening at the beginning. You know, I invested a lot of money, a lot of time into this project, and now it's already starting like really hard, and I'm a very low patience person, especially like just with like I said, common respect. Just give me a call. Like, you don't have to be putting people on blast, putting me on the middle of TV for something as stupid as, hey, you mind? And I would have showed you the videos. I already have them. I have them for months and months and months. Since the beginning of the project, I've been calling, asking people to come help me with this. Does people come? Oh yeah, I'll be right there. You know what I did all day yesterday? I waited for Dan Menard. Cost me $1,500. That's how much I make a day in my business. I sat there all day waiting for him. Did anybody show up? No.
Nothing to do with this commission.
I'm just saying, it's part of the town, and it's a problem. Like, it's not like I'm not trying to help to do things.
So, thanks for coming in. I might, when you can, get the fence back up.
Like,
And if it happens to be down again, one of us will call.
you know, I'm not, like, for me to just keep playing with this fence is just, I'm not putting no more money into it, for one. And for two, when you guys fix the water problem, because this goes on if it's an inch of rain, 3 inches of rain, there's no point in me fixing it, just keeps coming down. Well, and then I get it all flooded out, I can't even drive in there. It's starting to, I would have almost $10,000 into hard pack in there, and it's starting to wash it off, all into that grass. I couldn't even grow grass, I should have been grass already. But what happens is, I put seed down, we get a rainstorm, all the water comes in from Hathaway Road, and guess where my seed goes? Right down the road. So, technically, right, I can't even get the grass to grow there to pull the fence, you know? It's just a few spots that don't have grass now. If anything, I would ask I could take that fence out where I'm not doing no more work in there anymore. At least so the water can get out of there. And then we can go from there and fix this drainage problem.
That's why the fence is up, correct? Because of the road, the work on the road?
The fence is up because of the work on the project, but also to keep stormwater from passing from the construction area through the silt fence into the wetlands. And that silt fence is in the very edge of the buffer zone. They make silt fences that have a wire mesh to them that they don't fall down, and they're held up with steel pipes. Wetlands Protection Act calls for a fence, the order of conditions calls for a fence.
Right.
The Wetlands Protection Act says you have to maintain your fence. It doesn't say there's a money limit, all of those things.
But it doesn't say you have to maintain the stormwater from another property with your fence. There's an issue here. I see his point. That needs to be addressed. And it would be appreciated if you could get the fence up. But that's not coming from his property. That water is coming off-site onto his property.
Everybody's water is coming from somewhere else.
I
in
just
town.
told you the problem. I've done your job.
No, that's not my job.
You know, it's all done.
I think we should have somebody look into that.
Yeah.
Well, I
I'm
will ask Dan
I'm gonna
about
talk to
the
Dan
plan
tomorrow. He's in the office next to me, as long as they're not out plowing rain tonight.
But the thing, another thing I'm getting at is like, technically, there's no construction going on there no more. Well, now I have to go and backblade it all again and try to get it back to a normal surface because now it's going to high areas, short areas. When I did put it in, it was all level, but then from the water, it's just been a mess. I'm not doing no more construction out front. And to tell you the truth, I don't know if you guys understand, I'm building this house from scratch. When I mean from scratch, I mean from scratch. I bought a sawmill, I'm milling all my lumber, I'm doing everything from scratch. So if you think I'm gonna be able to keep this silt fence up for 10 plus years, I haven't even started milling. You know how many one-bys I have to mill? We're talking thousands. I'm not working on I felt like I got pushed into getting this whole project going in the first place. Oh, you can't drive in there without this. You can't do this without this. So I said, okay. I spent $7,000, had everything engineered out after I already told them I was thinking about waiting and trying to get this stormwater problem fixed, and then I was thinking about coming in and re-perking it. Because now all this water's been coming in here. Yeah, it has a bad perkiness, but it's doesn't matter what the water table is. The water table's here, and then you come in and drive 20,000 gallons of water, and it has nowhere to go. Of course, it's going to take longer to come out. You know, so I wanted to try to fix this problem. But anyways, so I just wanted to get the driveway in, and now it's turning into, oh, you got to keep the silt fence. Like, I'm not ready to do that. All I wanted is a driveway. I come in, I use it, I put my chipper over there, a couple wood things. I got my mill there. I take down my trees every once in a while that it was within the buffer zone or whatever that I can take. I start putting them on the mill, and I'm starting the process. Like I said, I'm building this thing from scratch. This is not going to be like a 5-year project. Like, I'm not made of money. I'm made of hard work, and that's all I know. So that's what I'm doing.
You do know your notice of intent expires in 3 years, though.
Yeah, but I can come in and have it renewed. Like I said, I got pushed
Only
into
once.
doing it.
Only once.
Well, then I'll take it from there.
And you'll have to buy another one.
Yeah, okay, so
Yeah, in the meantime, can we come by and, when we're doing our next set of site visits and see it, so that way we get to talk to you and...
yeah, if you need to see more, I already showed it to you. If you want to put muck boots on, I can help you guys show you the real problem.
We
But
do our boots.
it's a long walk.
Well, just that front entrance and...
Well, now that you found it, we can get access a different way.
Yeah. No,
You can go in
You
down.
can.
but well, I know, because I know the whole area like
Right.
the back of my hat.
If
You
you're
can
gonna
come
do a
in.
visit, it's at his place first.
You can.
Right.
Yes.
You can come in
That's the only stuff-
from around where Titleist driving range is over there. But even in there, you might be able to get a mini excavator in there. But to even get to the spot it's clogged, it's like you're not gonna really get to
It's
it.
nasty.
You're gonna have to, if that was my project and I was gonna attack it, I'd probably come in from behind Pope Park there with a skiff and then drop in the water over there and then go to the drain through the water end. Cause it's like, when I say it's overgrown, like I couldn't, so like here's the drain, I
It's a big
couldn't,
briar.
I couldn't just walk up to it cause it's so overgrown. I had to come down, up, around, through and back up to the other side, and I could finally get a peek at it. And like I said, there was no water coming in, and the whole pond's just overflowing. And it's like, it's overflowing.
So anyway, so what I asked about site visit was specifically
Oh.
for your property and.
Yeah, that's what I need to do, I just
Yeah,
don't see
it's
it.
3, 4, it'd be the 10th, the 11th, whatever that Saturday is.
Okay, that's
No, the
nice.
meeting's February 8th.
Oh, it is
So it'd be
February
the-
1st, the Wednesday then? Must
Yes.
be. It
Yes,
must
it
be,
is.
so
Yeah.
it'd be February 4th.
Yeah, Saturday.
Okay,
And
so,
we tend to meet here at 8:30, and you're close, we can go to you first, and then, you know. you can
but at the
go
other
to us.
hand, the silt fence thing, like, time and money, man, it's killing me. Like I said, for this long, like, the driveway, you can clearly see it's all hard packed and it's just a dirt driveway now, like it's gonna be. Like, I don't see why, there's that neighboring property, my driveway, and then the wetlands. All the other construction's gonna be way in the back. Can't I just take that out, and when I'm ready to do the other construction, I'll put the silt fence all around the back, like it's supposed to?
Well, we'll take a look and make sure we have those plans for that site visit, so we
Yep.
see them.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
there's an
could've
erosion
brought 'em.
control plan for that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, all right, so,
Thank you.
good. Thank you.
Thank you.
And if you have any questions about going and showing you what's going on at
Yeah,
Scouts Pond, let me
That'll
know.
be Dan. Okay. Next, under stormwater. Stormwater, continued public hearing, stormwater. We just discussed Boucher Durfee property. I say we just, there's nothing to discuss here, correct?
Nope.
Okay. So, motion to continue that one.
So moved.
And a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Next, continued public hearing, stormwater, Joe S. Costello, Park Drive and Deep Brook Drive, map 17, lots 66 through 84, map 18, lots 12R, 12S, 18, 18G. I'll skip over reading the rest. Anything you need to know about this one?
Nope, we're waiting to hear back from Beals and Thomas, but like I told you, he took so long to put in the check, there's a few projects in front of him. I have heard from Zenith, they were going out and improving the erosion controls.
Mhm.
The straw walls were undersized, they had installed 6-inch and the plan called for 12-inch.
Mhm.
I got a voicemail complaint today that there's trucking soil into Deep Brook, so I'm gonna go there tomorrow. I don't see any reason that any dirt should be being trucked in. The entrance was put in, and that's what that dirt was for. So if he's trucking in dirt, he's going beyond what we gave him that provisional approval for. So, I've also asked them for their stormwater reports that are required under the construction general permit, for their maintenance logs, inspection logs. And that generated a phone call from Zenith that Joe's no longer doing his stormwater inspections, that they're taking it over. So I'm gonna assume they don't exist and we'll just let that go, but that was a way to nip that in the bud. So,
Any questions or comments for Pat on this one? Motion to continue.
for more information.
So move more information, yep. And a second?
A second.
All in favor? Next item on here is stormwater bylaw, stormwater regulation discussion, review of matters presented, votes may be taken. So what I propose is that between now and the next meeting, I will send you all my thoughts about what parts of the bylaw to keep and what parts to either add, subtract. Because we've got to get moving on this, and we need to have a vote on it, both the bylaw and the regulations, and then hold a public hearing. So I've been reviewing them. I've asked Pat for the solar bylaw, the tree language in there. I mean, I realize that's part of the regulations and not the bylaw for stormwater, but think we're at the point where we can do this parallel tracks, because what doesn't go in the bylaw ends up in the regulations. And it'd be nice to be able to deal with both of those, hopefully at the next meeting. But I will get something to all of you in writing so you can review it. I think you all have a printed version of both of those. Yeah, and we went through the regulations back in late November. Haven't had a chance to
We
go
didn't have any
through this.
submittals for our next meeting, so we should have ample time to do that, and we might want to just limit the meeting to that.
I don't know
So
if
we
you
can
want to
get it
add
done.
anything to this topic, other than, I know you said we had talked yesterday, and
Yeah, so
you
when I-
wanted clarification as to what exactly I was asking for.
Yeah, because as Ryan brought up before, the solar bylaw that came out of planning was minimal.
Yeah.
And when I went and asked them about that, they said that they ran into time for town meeting, so they just threw something minimal at it to have it.
Mhm.
And as you and I talked about on the phone last night,
Either that or.
I don't know, it all runs
whatever
together.
it was. Yeah.
there is a bylaw in that, the form that came from either Northwest or whoever it was,
Mhm.
but that I thought that the tree banking and having to pay to cut a tree down was excessive.
Yeah.
And that there was a reference in the regulation, and I haven't read it in a while, but I believe it dealt with trees with a caliper of 6 inches or bigger.
Mm.
And either having them replanted, relocated on the site, or relocated somewhere else in town, which is still another burden. I just think you might want to have the ability to look at trees bigger than a 6-inch caliper and make the decision as a commission, what's the effect on that project? Take it on a case-by-case project and not make it overbearing. And
Yeah, my concern about the other parts is who's going to administer all of that. And
it's part of the approvals of the commission when you do
right,
the
but then there's
otherwise.
the administration of the tree bank and all of those other things.
But you kill the tree bank. And you kill
Right,
the-
but I'm saying, one of the reasons that part concerns me is if we had all that, who's going to manage it?
Yeah, no,
There's
that's
nobody to
just
do that.
a,
There's nobody to do that.
that's a whole nother job.
Yeah, right. So,
And it's another thing that people aren't gonna want, I wouldn't wanna do that. That's belonging. I'm a libertarian. If I own my property and I can do something that's not gonna affect somebody else, then I think that I should be able to do that. If there's a regulation that requires a permit, I'll apply for the permit.
I think this should just be bare bones basic to get us in compliance.
yep, and I think it's what we're going to have. But you said I want you all to see it first, so we can, and have time to look at it over the next week and a half, 2 weeks.
And know what it means and what the nuances are behind it. So,
Okay. Next, agent updates, and the one item written here is Hamlin Street update, and I think Everett talked about that a little bit right before we officially open the meeting, but if you want to.
well,
And I think your
We had some
update is different
discussions.
than Everett's too.
yeah, we had some discussions from, so I emailed Sarah Quintal. I know that she is the expert of experts. I hold her in very high regard after being to the Sawmill project. And I know that she cares. So this project at Hamlin Street, talking to the project manager for the contractor, there are no regulations, there are no rules, they're exempt from everything. DEP was coming to a meeting, and I was asked to leave. He didn't want to let me meet with DEP. An email came out from the project about fisheries and wildlife going out there. So I emailed Sarah and said, this is very concerning. You guys spent a lot of money out here. The contractor doesn't know what anything is, or he's plain that he doesn't know what anything is. Can you look into this? And she did. And she got someone to go out there and meet with them, and I think they've been turned around. It was very good that happened. But we need to make sure that stays in play. And I don't know how we do that, but we need to keep an eye on that project. I know someone that lives nearby. So.
Well, I can tell you what I saw on the town website today. There's a notice posted from Mass DOT 5, I think we are.
Yeah.
And it says that on January 23rd and 24th, I think those were the 2 dates, They were going to repave the road surface to get rid of the potholes, and reopen the bridge, and leave it open until July 5th, which is well after the herring.
Right. Okay, that's good news.
So they're not gonna,
So they got
as
pushed
of,
back on the
as
herring
of
thing.
today, they got the Jersey barriers, the chain link fence, and the wreck house is still in the middle of the street, so.
Oh.
Because I think
I don't think they tied anything today.
Sarah Quintal's most important comment was that the poured-in-place fishway was a specific design made to protect the fish. And you and I heard him specifically say at that meeting, we want to do away with the cast-in-place, we want to divert the stream, and we want to put in a precast fishway. So it was great that she was willing to get involved, and she got it done.
I thought it was actually natural stone they put in.
Yeah, he had mentioned doing it in
Fish-
precast in the
fi-
dry.
The fish run that's there now,
Yeah.
I thought when they rebuilt it, when there was really none, that they had put rocks in
Oh, yeah.
to the bottom of the stream, not just
Yeah.
not cast concrete,
Yeah,
I
you
don't
don't want
think.
that because you need those rocks down there to create the current.
Right.
Which
You
attracts
gotta
the
have
fish,
places
the
to
fish
rest,
when it's
too.
swimming, and also to rest, but and it stirs up nutrients and it does all those important things, and, yeah. It's a much more natural, set of natural cues for the fish, as opposed to just flat bottom.
But people still go down the street even though there's big red orange sign saying closed. We time them. How long is this one gonna take?
Well, they hope
Turn
it's
around.
Yeah.
I can watch them go by my house.
It's
and
not
then
on the
come back
GPS
up.
that it's closed. So then, under the agent update, we have a serious issue that popped up that wasn't anticipated for the agenda, so the agenda couldn't be modified. I was out at 301 Perry Hill Road a few times, inspecting Mark Francois' new road that he built. He had a little bit of erosion problem on one of the side streams. I wanted to make sure he fixed it. And twice when I was there, I could smell plastic burning. And I just couldn't figure out what the heck the plastic was. So I went on our new mapping system from Nearmap for 309 Perry Hill Road. And there's been over 4 acres of wetlands have been wiped out on this site deliberately. I sent this to, if I can get started in the right spot. So that was the first one that caught my eye. That was all vegetated. There it is in March 25th of 2019. And there it is on April 12th of 2020. And that's a pretty serious alteration to a wetland system. And if you look at just to the left, you can see that it's pretty wet there in the field. So then, this is in 2021. It's starting to vegetate, and it's whatever that stream or finger was coming out is now, drying up and going away. And then,
Well, that's in September, the other one was in March,
Yeah.
that's probably why.
well, and I think we had a drought. What's going on here? So then, they wiped out this area down here. And if you get a little closer, you can see the water, you can see the tire tracks in the water. And at the top of the screen is the water from the wetland coming down through the field, under their driveway and into there. And that got wiped out in April 12th of 2020. That was going on. And then if you look at above the blue lines, you can see the fill that they're starting to put into the water in that wetland system coming down through the field. This house was built in 2016. It did not get a notice of intent for some reason. But for the septic system plans, and I went to the Board of Health today and reviewed those plans, there were wetlands delineated on this site. And if you look at the down to the right of the house, you can see some more fill and you can see some more water. That's actually a delineated wetland. There was about 100 feet off the corner of the house that they wiped out in April of 2020. So this went off to EPA last night. EPA contacted me first thing this morning. They sent it to the Clean Water Act investigators that are coming out for the solar fields. They emailed me back earlier this afternoon and said that it's approximately 4 acres of wetlands alteration, and that I should present it to the commission tonight and see what the commission wants to do. So I'd like to issue an enforcement order and tell them to come in here and explain what the heck happened there, and issue an order to provide a plan to the commission to restore the wetlands.
When was the house built?
2016 it was started.
So there's this,
I mean, this is egregious.
This is, when you go,
east or west
when
of,
you go into
Francois.
Francois' property,
yeah.
the
Top of the hill.
that's up above him.
So Mark's to the left,
Yeah.
and this is to the right.
This is the person
road
who
goes off
owns
to
the
the right.
road that had the big debate with the Francois about whether his subdivision could use that road or improve that road. And he wound up having to build his own road next to it
Right.
to satisfy all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I never thought anything of it until I was, out there inspecting his and smelled plastic burning. And a rack body truck had gone by
Oh, yeah, what was that?
full of loaves of bread
Which is,
to feed.
which we've seen there before.
Yeah.
Yes, so to me, it's the plastic bags
Yeah,
coming off of a truckload of bread and being burned in a 55-gallon drum.
Right.
But that's vinyl chloride, chlorine, all kinds of things. That's a Clean Air Act violation, but nothing to do with us. But that's what made me discover this
Yeah.
last night.
Do you know who owns that? Is that Francois' brother, or is that somebody else?
No, this is according to the septic plan, the person's last name was Snow.
Snow.
And I don't want to say the whole name just in case.
Yeah.
I don't want to, they don't own it anymore. So, I need to talk to the assessor's
So
office.
it's that side of the street, it's not, because on the other side of the street, there was this interesting running Hatfield-McCoy thing going on between the bars and the arenas. That's the other side of the street.
This could actually be a criminal violation. It's 3 or 4 acres of
So if you're
deliberate wetlands alteration is a serious.
east on Perry Hill Road.
Where's Perry Hill Road in
North side
relation to
of
their
Perry
house?
Hill Road.
Right there.
Once you
Perry
turn
Hill Road's
left,
to the left, way out.
To the left.
Yes, goes down by Mark Francois' house.
Okay.
And out to Perry Hill Road where he did that wetlands crossing.
Okay.
And I just think that they're so far back, they didn't think anybody would notice.
It's a huge site.
And they did a little
Apparently
bit.
nobody didn't.
No, it was pure accident. I almost fell off my chair. And I'm actually shocked, and I shouldn't be shocked because people do this stuff, but that's a major deal.
And you think these EPA folks might swing by there too? Or do you not know that?
Well, her boss actually sent her and me an email that said, Pat sent this to me last night, call him right away tomorrow morning. So it's been given to the investigator, and she just called today and said, what do you want to do? And I said, what do you want to do? And she said, present it to your commission and see what they say. And call me tomorrow and let me know what's going on.
Okay.
I don't know if DEP wants to get involved in this. This is something that involves a substantial penalty. So I would think that both of those agencies are going to jump in here as soon as one of them cracks the egg, because they'll both be looking for a penalty.
That's a huge amount of clearing.
That's unconscionable. So,
Well, yeah,
See if you can set up a site visit.
and I mean, and I know we don't always like issuing enforcement orders without seeing it, but this is quite a set of photographs.
so Walt, why don't we send them a letter? Or I'll go bang on their door and hand deliver them a letter, asking them to come to our February 8th meeting and to allow us to do a site visit on that Saturday before the meeting. And if they don't, we could entertain the idea of getting an administrative search warrant to go on their property. And that really brings people around to wanting to cooperate and all of that. Doesn't cost any money to do it. And you can just show up unannounced and say, we're here. We did it at Keating, and it was very, very effective.
All right, well, yeah, I'll try to get out there February 4th, but get them on the agenda for the 8th.
So we in agreement? We'll
Sounds
do
like a
that.
plan to me.
Yep. And we had no filings, so should be a pretty easy meeting next Monday 8th, and we can concentrate on the bylaw and the regulation. We also need to get a stormwater engineer.
Yeah.
We have to start doing our wet weather testing and what other stuff needs to be done. Does anybody go to the recycling area on Saturdays or anything?
Once in a while.
Once in a while.
I'm usually there with leaves.
I got a complaint that mattresses are being dumped out back in the wetlands. If anybody happens to go by
Usually collect
Saturday or
those. These are the
something.
They used to have a trailer there. They put them in.
I think they do, but some people might be sneaking up back and, but
All right.
And I mentioned to a couple of the commissioners on Saturday, when I was on the commission in Uxbridge, a couple of us would get together on Saturdays and just go out and look at jobs that we recently permitted or recently approved, and just drive by and see how it's going, and if you see something, say something. It makes my job easier, and it gets you guys more involved, and you're not just waiting for me to tell you what happened. And I think you've noticed this a little pattern of everybody just says I'm wrong, and they're all right. So I would ask that you guys get a little more involved. If you drive around town, you're going to the supermarket and you're driving by, somebody's house that you recently approved something, take a look. You don't have to go in their yard, you can just take a look. And tell me.
I need a map of the town. I need a map of the town of roads. No, but at least the areas we live in. We could, maybe focus on that. You're down that end, I'm way down this end. It's over there, you know what I mean? We got Everett Garden, the dam.
Yeah, look at the taser. So,
What?
the taser. You can tase them if they get out.
I don't have any weapons.
One last bit of business. So I had a quick meeting with Alan Decker and Brendan Annette from the coalition yesterday. So that property that was tabled for the selectmen to put on the special fall town meeting, it's right on the property line of Acushnet and Mattapoisett, and it's river reservoir protection land. They've been working with the Hawes family and are trying to get access, and may be able to get access to that property, which would then take away the one concern Selectman Gaspar had about accessing it. I know they're applying for a grant for a couple of things, but they also would like to come back before us and see if we would still support that $85,000 that CPC had approved. And we had said, yeah, that seems like a good idea because it's conservation land, it protects the water supply. now there may be a little more access to that, so people in town can actually get to it. Because right now, you gotta cross, I mean, there's a little bit of our own property next to it, but there's nowhere to park.
It wasn't properly presented by the selectmen. They didn't present it as a groundwater protection project. They presented it as an open space with no access.
Yeah.
And that kind of, it was dead on arrival at that point.
But yeah, we should get this on the agenda for the, well, certainly for us, and then town meeting.
Alan Decker seems pretty good at getting it done, so.
Yeah, well, they said for these things they're working on, there's a couple of deadlines of February 1.
That's
So their applications they're working on,
Yeah.
we'll see where that leads us. It's good that they're working with the property owner of the adjacent property. Anyway, I just want to let you know that I had that.
What's up with the Title V regulations? Any word on that?
Yeah.
The state's trying to pass legislation, make the state
Well,
responsible.
But,
Yeah.
but either 2 or 4 of our legislators have sued DEP.
Yeah.
That was a recent newspaper story, and from what I'm hearing, DEP is already retreating on a lot of this. It's very unpopular, and now we're right now having an administration change where everybody at DEP who brought this forward, that are managers and department heads, all lost their jobs because they're Republicans and work for the Republican regime. So now we have a Democrat, we're gonna have a Democratic DEP commissioner, we'll have Democratic assistant commissioners, associate commissioners, regional directors.
Secretary.
Everybody gets changed. And that's gonna set it back again. I've seen regulations at DEP take 10 years to happen. And then they're just a skeleton of what they were. I heard that the Dartmouth meetings went pretty well, that it was well attended, and DEP got the message, and that I think 5 of our towns or 6 of our area towns have joined together and made a joint statement to DEP and have vowed, no way, no how. So it's gonna take everybody a year to get their jobs at DEP and settle in. And then they start worrying about the next election and planning on if it's not a Democrat. So they're always in flux of getting ready. I wouldn't expect anything hard and fast.
Doing their jobs.
But the Board of Health, I think, is taking a harder look at septic systems that are being proposed now and trying to make them a little more protective just to, get that going. And then there's some designation we can get, and you might even know more about it. I've stayed out of it with Joe, but about being designated septic, or we can be designated in the area that doesn't have that problem or something, or we can make our own
Yeah,
regulations.
Nitrogen sensitive area.
Yeah, we're not in the primary designation for needing to have everything be nitrogen removing. We're in the second level of that. Mark Rasmussen's letter on this was pretty well written, if you haven't seen it. It's probably on the coalition website, and he sent it out to coalition members, so I got one. And he lives in Dartmouth now, he doesn't live in Fairhaven anymore. It's a well-written letter, and explains the process and the fact that I don't think any town is going to force people to get a nitrogen removal system in 5 years, especially towns that already have a watershed action plan. And I think
That's what it was, yes.
Watershed
Action
plan.
Plan.
I'm not quite sure what that means. But you do know nothing's going to happen here anytime soon. That much.
And there's no money for sewer, so.
All right. Anybody else with business for the commission? All right then, somebody make that motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned at